The power of words can easily thank, praise, and bless, and just as quickly damage through slander, gossip, and other forms of hurtful communication. For me, it's gotten to the point where the evening news is so filled with vitriol, I'm flipping between women's softball and diners, drivers, and dives. I can't imagine the volume of lashon hara, the evil speech, on social media. I just can't because I don't do social media. Bottom line, it hurts three people: the one who speaks it, the one of whom it is spoken, and the one who receives it. According to the sages, today's Parashat, Tazria, it's about the power of speech to heal or harm. This Parashat deals at length with skin conditions, which was a punishment for evil speech. You may recall it was Miriam who spoke badly about Moses and was struck with the skin condition as a result. And Moses alludes to this incident many years later, urging the Israelis to take it to heart. Remember what the Lord our God did to Miriam along the way after you came out of Egypt. There is a wonderful story, teaching moment in the Midrash that is often told about the dangers of gossip. Probably several of all of you have heard this. One version tells of a woman who spreads untruths about a neighbor in her village. And when she wants to make amends, she approaches an elder in the community. And he tells her how she is and asks what she can do to apologize. He brings her to the top of a hill on a windy day with a pillowcase full of feathers. And he instructs her to open the pillowcase, and the feathers fly everywhere. He then asks her to collect the far-flung feathers, but she protests. She says it's impossible to track down each feather. And he responds, that so too is impossible to undo the damage that gossip causes. For each piece of gossip told catches the wind and travels far, just like the feathers. My favorite unabashed celebration of the power of human kindness to heal broken hearts is the 2019 film, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Have you guys seen that movie? Tom Hanks? Fabulous film. Tom plays the beloved American children's television producer-presenter, Mr. Rogers, a legendary figure to several, and probably many of us in this room, generations of young Americans, famous for his musical invitation, "Won't You Be My Neighbor?" On a personal note, my mother and my Uncle Carol possess these incredible qualities of Mr. Rogers. The pilot is based on a true story. A magazine had decided to run a series of short profiles around the theme of heroes. It assigned one of its most gifted journalists to write the vignette about Rogers. The journalist was, however, a troubled soul. He had badly broken relationship with his father. The two had physically fought at his sister's wedding, and the father sought reconciliation, but the journalist refused to see him. The jagged edges of this character showed in his journalism, in his writing. Everything he wrote had a critical undercurrent, as if he relished destroying the images of the people he had come to portray. Given his reputation, he wondered why the children's television star had agreed to be interviewed by him. Had Rogers not read any of his writings? Did he not know the obvious risk that the profile would be negative, perhaps devastatingly so? It turned out Rogers read every article he wrote. He also, the only figure who had agreed to be interviewed by him. All the other heroes had turned him down. The journalist goes to meet Rogers, first sitting through the production, complete with puppets, toy trains, and the miniature townscapes that we are all used to seeing on television. And at a moment, it was ripe for the big city cynicism by this writer. And this is what Rogers had anticipated. Yet, Rogers, when he met and talked, defies any conventional stereotype. He turns the questions away from himself and toward the journalist. Almost immediately, Sensing the core of unhappiness within him, he then turns every negative question into a positive affirmation, the power of speech, and exudes the calmness and quiet, the listening silence, which allows and encourages the journalist to talk about himself. It was a remarkable experience to watch as Hank's gentleness, immovable even under pressure, slowly allows the journalist to acknowledge his own failings vis-a-vis his father, and to give him the emotional strength to forgive him and to be reconciled to him in limited time before he died. Here is a fragment of that conversation. Journalist, you love people like me. Roger says, what people like you? I never met anyone like you in my entire life. Journalist, broken people. Rogers, I don't think you are broken. I know you are a man of conviction, a person who knows the difference between what is wrong and what is right. Try to remember that your relationship with your father also helped to shape those parts. He helped you become who you are. Judaism is a religion of words and silence, speaking and listening, communicating and attending. God created the universe by words, and he said, and there was. And we create the social universe by words, by the promise with which we bind ourselves to meet our obligations to others. God's revelation of Sinai was of words. You heard the sounds and the words, but saw no form. There was only voice. Every other ancient religion had its monuments of brick and stone. The Jews, however, exiled, only had words. The Torah they carried with them wherever they went. The supreme mitzvah in Judaism is Shema Yisrael, listen to Israel, for God is visible. We make no icons. We cannot see God. We cannot smell God. We cannot touch God. We cannot taste God. What we only can do is listen in the hope of hearing God. In Judaism, listening is a high religious art. Just like my mom and my uncle, what Tom Hanks showed us in this portrayal of Rogers as a man who was capable of attending other people, listening to them, talking gently to them in a way that is a powerful affirmation, without for a moment being bland or assuming that all is well in the world or with them. The reason this is both interesting and important to me is that it's hard to know how to listen to God if we don't know how to listen to other people. And how can we expect God to listen to us if we are incapable of listening to others? My blessing for each of us, seek to understand, continue to talk gently, and continue to listen. Shabbat Shalom.